Did you ever wonder how trauma manifests in the human body physically? In the book club book, The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma by Bessel van der Kolk, the primary point of this book is to describe how mental trauma manifests physically in the human body. This will be in such things as memory loss, flashbacks, nightmares, emotional or hormonal deregulation. I'm going to read real quick. This is the opening paragraph of the book. And right off the bat, this book is telling you exactly what this book is about and why it's relevant. Research by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has shown that 1 in 5 Americans was sexually molested as a child. 1 in 4 was beaten by a parent to the point of a mark being left on their body. And 1 in 3 couples engage in physical violence. 1/4 of us grew up with alcoholic relatives, and 1 out of 8 witnessed their mother being beaten or hit. The book goes on to really give a lot of information on how maybe flashbacks are tied to mental trauma, but the book also acts as a history of trauma and how our society has handled trauma in the past. For example, the book points out that it used to be considered, and this was not that long ago, that incest only happened 1 out of every million. Now that is known to be a far higher number. The book also talks about how PTSD became to be an actual diagnosis, also speaks to how the VA handled PTSD, initially pointing out that the VA at one point, when Dr. van der Kolk put in a grant to do more study on PTSD for veterans, their reply was, "It has never been shown that PTSD is relevant to the mission of the Veterans Administration." He also goes on to talk about the ACEs test, Adverse Childhood Experience test, which we've read about a little bit in ADHD 2.0. He also references that test, and again how that test was developed actually from a Dr. Felitti who was studying obesity and started to make a connection that a lot of his patients had history of sexual abuse, and started to tie in again with how trauma can physically manifest for people. He also covers Freud a little bit in this book, and how Freud initially, early in his career, claimed that the ultimate cause of hysteria is always the seduction of the child by an adult in the patients Freud was dealing with in 1896, and that Freud, faced with evidence of an epidemic of abuse in the best families of Vienna, basically ended up walking that assertion back. I have found this book mostly to be historically interesting and a little hard to get through because trauma is hard to read about, but overall very, very interesting. I hope to see you at the Jefferson County Library Book Club meeting for June 12th, where we will discuss The Body Keeps the Score. See you then.